Yeah, I know what's going on. It's time for another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker, and welcome to the show. Rob is having a hard time readjusting to society. He sees everything that Terry is doing for him the wrong way. He thinks he's doing it out of pity, trying to make him look bad, trying to make him feel less than a man. All of the things that you start to develop when you're in prison, when you look at how the interactions between the people that run the prison versus the people that are in the prison, all of those stereotypes that he attached to the people in prison that ran him, he's attaching those same ideals, those same beliefs to Terry. Somebody that he spent years in the cell with, somebody that sent him money on his books when he got out, somebody that's opened up his home to him when he had nowhere else to go. He's so angry, he's so upset, he's so blinded by what prison has done to him, what the criminal lifestyle has done to him. He can't see that he has a good thing. He can't see that he has a good thing. So in his mind, he has to do one thing to make this make sense to him. He wants what Terry has. And he has to have it the way he wants it. Not the way that you're supposed to get it, meaning work for it, put in work, save your money and all of that. He wants to take it. See, because that's what you do in prison. When you want something in prison, you don't work for it. You take it. That's that backwards mindset that people have. Take it. Don't care about this person that is working and dedicating his or her life to building something for themselves and their family. No. Go take it. Take it. Even though somebody is doing good for you. And that's where Rob is at. That's where Rob's at. He believes that he's justified in what he's feeling as far as how he wants to handle this problem, because that's how he's done it all along. That's how he's done it all along. So when he sits down, the next time he sits down and he's talking to Terry, he tells Terry that he's making plans to move away. So Terry asked me, he said, where are you trying to get to? And he said he was thinking about moving down to Florida. He said, do you know anybody in Florida? Terry asked him, and he said, no, not really. He said, I just think I need a fresh start. And he said, well, how much money do you have saved up? You know, Terry knew the answer to it because he helped him set up his account and he keeps up with everything for him because he doesn't have any experience in doing that. And he said, I got enough to make it. Terry looks at him and he said, okay. He said, so would you giving me your 2 weeks notice? And Rob tells him, yeah, it's my 2 week notice. He said, I got you. He said, I'm going to miss you and I'm going to wish you the best. And if you ever need anything or you ever need to come back, you know you can. But for these last 2 weeks, we're going to kick it. He said, we're going to kick it. I'm going to pay you. And then we're going out every night. We're going out every night. And don't worry about nothing. I'm paying for everything. Now, in Terry's face, Rob was excited about that and like, yeah, man, that's what I'm talking about. I know you know what I'm saying, looking out for me and caring about me and all this and that, right? But in his heart, he took that disrespectful. It's like, he must think I can't pay my way. He must think that I'm not equal to him. This is how Rob's mind is working. And this is what I want y'all to understand when people get caught up in this crap that's going on in here. You lose sight of what's right in front of you. Somebody trying to help you. So Rob and Terry, they go out that night. And Stephanie decides to go with them. No biggie, because everywhere Terry goes, if Stephanie wants to go, he wants her to go. If he can't take Stephanie, or it's somewhere that Stephanie doesn't feel comfortable, he's not going. He's not going. That's what it means to be in a relationship. He don't want her to feel uncomfortable, even if she's not there. You understand? Think about that one. So they all three go out, and they're having fun, and they're drinking shots and all of this and that. And Stephanie, she's going to be the designated driver. So she's not drinking like they are. She's drinking non-alcoholic beverages while they're drinking alcoholic beverages. They're getting toasted. I mean, toasted. So at the end of the night, it's about 12, 1 o'clock. And all three of them, she's struggling trying to get them to the car. She's in the middle. And think about it, this is this female. I'm not saying that women can't handle it, because I know you can. Y'all the backbone of all of us. Don't get it twisted. I understand what it is. But anyway, she's walking in the middle of them, and both of them got their arms around her, and they're walking to the car, and they're just swaying back and forth. You know how people do when they get intoxicated? Toe up from the flow up. So she gets him to the car. She's like, okay, you get in the back and you get in the front, telling Terry to get in the front with her, and Rob to get in the back. And then Rob like, no, I'm sitting in the front. I call shotgun. Right? Now, she doesn't think too much of it because they're drunk. So she lets Rob get in the front. She puts the seatbelt on him, and she gets Terry in the back. And before she can get the seatbelt all on him, he just collapses and falls over in the back seat and goes to sleep. So she gets around in the driver's side of the car, she pulls out, and she's on her way back to the ranch. And while they're driving on their way back to the ranch, Rob, he's drunk, but he's thinking. He's thinking. And he's looking at her, and she notices that he's just staring at her. You know how when people stare at you and make you feel uncomfortable, make you feel like something's just dirty about you? That's how he's looking at her. But she knows he's drunk. She knows he's drunk. So he looks at her and he tells her, he said, you're a very beautiful woman. You know that? And she said, thank you. You're an attractive man. But she glances back to see where her husband is. You know what I'm saying? He's back there snoring, knocked out, not aware of anything. And it makes her feel uncomfortable because she starts to feel a vibe, an uncomfortable vibe from Rob. And he notices that she looks over her shoulder to see where Terry's at. So he leans over and he looks back at her. He says, oh, he's asleep. He's knocked out. He can't handle his liquor like a real man. See how he threw that jab in there? You know? She doesn't catch it. She's not even on that. So he says to her, he says, how far we got to go? And she said, we'll be there in about 10 or 15 minutes. And he said, that's plenty of time. And she said, plenty of time for what? And he said, oh, nothing, I'm just talking. So he settles back in and he's looking straight ahead and she's looking straight ahead and driving. So she reaches down and she turns on the radio to turn on some music, you know, to break the monotony of the silence. And then he reaches down and he starts turning the knob on the radio. He said, what kind of music you like? She said, it doesn't matter. Country, rap, rock, it doesn't matter, R&B. So he's turning the channel and he's trying to get some music on. And he gets it on some nice, slow, you know what I'm saying, pop music. And they're just riding and listening. And she recognizes the song, so she starts to sing the song. And then suddenly she all of a sudden feels a hand that touches her on her knee. And it's Rob. And she looks down and she freezes. She said, what are you doing? He says nothing. And as he has his hand on her knee, she has on a dress, right, a sundress. As he has his hand on her knee, he slowly moves his hand to the middle of her thigh. And she pushes his hand away. She said, no, we're not doing that. She said, I don't know what you think this is. And he says, you know what it is. And as he's looking at her real rough now. And she said, no. She said, I'm not finna put up with that. And you touch me again, I'm gonna put you out of this car. And you're leaving tonight. You're not gonna be leaving in 2 weeks, you're leaving tonight. She gets street with it. Like I said, Stephanie, she come from the streets. You understand what I'm saying? Not the streets like what you would think, you know what I'm saying, like hardcore. She understands. She comes from a lower class situation to where you got to be firm in what you say to people. Don't be playing around and not acting like you don't understand what's going on. If you see something, you cut right into it. And she cut right into him. She said, we're not finna play that game. Don't you touch me again. Don't touch me again. Don't no man touch me with my husband. She laid it out to him. So now he's sitting there looking straight ahead in the car on the passenger side. Now he got rocks in his jaw because she didn't want his advances. She didn't want him touching her. Now the music is still playing, but she's not singing. She's standing there. She got her hand on the wheel and she constantly glancing at him to make sure that he's not thinking anything silly. And she notices He's getting angrier and angrier, and she looks down and she sees his two fists. They're balled up and they're sitting right on the top of his legs, right near his knees, and both of his hands. She can see the knuckles. It's just he's squeezing his fists together. You know how somebody getting mad and they're squeezing their fists together? That's what he's doing, and she notices that, and then she says a silent prayer, hoping that she can just get home, or hoping that Terry wakes up. And right on time, Terry wakes up. And when he wakes up, he leans up between, you know how somebody in the back seat, they lean up and they got their arms and they can, right in the middle of both of the people in the front of the car. He's like, is everything okay? In a real groggy, drunk voice. And she looks at him and she doesn't say anything. And Rob looks at him and is like, yeah, everything's good, bro. How you doing? You can't handle your liquor, can you? And he was like, yeah, I think I drunk too much. Next 5 minutes, they pull up at the house. When they pull up at the house, Rob pops the seatbelt off, opens the door, just gets out, and he walks away. He goes to the bunkhouse. Terry, he's still struggling trying to get out the back seat, so Stephanie helps him out the back seat. She puts her arms around him, and she's walking him to the house. And when they walk up to the house and she gets him on the front porch, she said, we need to talk. And he's real drunk still, but he can understand her a little bit. He's like, what's going on? Is everything okay? She said, no, everything's not okay. Everything is not okay. She said, but wait till we get in the house, and then we're going to talk about it. So they get up on the porch and they go into the house, and once they get in the house and she gets him upstairs, and that took a minute because he's drunk. And you know how it is when you're trying to get a man upstairs drunk that outweighs you. So she gets him upstairs, throws him in the shower. After the shower, they're laying in the bed, and he's still drunk trying to fight sleep. And she said, you're not going to sleep. We need to talk. And he's begging her, baby, I'm not going to remember. Can we just talk about this in the morning? And she said, okay, but first thing in the morning, we're talking about this. There's something going on with Rob. And he says in a groggy voice, about to fall out, he said, okay, I got you. We're going to talk about Rob when I wake up in the morning. First thing. She said, first thing, before you eat breakfast, we got to have this talk. He said, okay. So he falls asleep immediately. He's snoring. She lays there. She's uncomfortable about everything. She doesn't even want to go to sleep. She doesn't trust him at all now. She don't know what he's got going. She don't know what's on his mind. She don't know where he's at. She don't know if he's out there looking at the window, through the window. She don't know what he's got going on. So she lays there the whole night, nervous, getting up and down out of the bed, looking out the window to make sure the doors are locked, everything. Doesn't have any weapons in the house because they can't have any weapons in the house because Terry's a convicted felon. And she would think, and Rob would know that. But she has a lot of knives in the house. Baseball bats, bow and arrow, all of that kind of stuff. So she starts to familiarize herself with all of the things in the house that she could defend herself with. And then she dozes off to sleep. She wakes up the next morning before Terry and she wakes him up, says, look, get up, we got to talk. And he wakes up, he's like, yeah, he said, what was going on last night? You said you want to talk about Rob. And he gets up and he's on the side of the bed and got his feet on the floor. And he gets up from the bed and he goes into the restroom to brush his teeth and to wash his face and all that kind of stuff. And she follows him in there. And while they're in there and they're talking, he's brushing his teeth. And she tells him what happened on the ride home. Now Terry is upset. And he's thinking about what does he need to do. And he said, did he? And she said, no. But he touched my leg and he tried to put his hand in between my thighs. And Terry's like, I don't believe that. And she said, it's true. He said, well, you think it was because he was drunk? She was like, no. She said, y'all drank a lot. But she said it was almost like he was half sober when they got in the car. She said, you don't remember. I tried to put him in the back seat and you in the front seat, and he called shotgun. All of that. And she said, I didn't think anything about it because y'all both were drunk. But now it had to be something to that. And she said, do you remember when I told you that he came into the house when you were not here looking for you? And he was like, yes, I remember that. She said, I think he's been watching me ever since then. Now, Terry's real concerned now because this is on a whole nother level. This is a threat level right here. So he says, I'm going to go talk to him. Stephanie tells him, be careful. You need to be careful about that. And he said, no, I'm good. I got him. He said, I've been around him for a long time. He's not that type of person. The violent type meaning. And she said, no. She said, we need to figure out what's going on with him. So he asked her. He said, are you afraid of him? She said, of course I am. I don't think he needs to be here for no 2 weeks. He needs to go now. He said, okay, let me look into this. And she said, before you go out there, and you go out there and talk to him, she said, I think we need to call the sheriff and let the sheriff know what's going on and let the sheriff know that you're going to be going out there to talk to him about it. Because he might know something that we don't know. So he's like, no, I don't think that's a good idea. I don't want to cause any problems for him. I'm just going to tell him that he has to go. And then we'll be done with it and we can move on with our lives. So he gets dressed and he goes downstairs to the bunkhouse and he's going over to talk to Rob. But Stephanie, she's not hearing that. She decides to call the sheriff anyway, and she tells the sheriff, which she knew, what's going on and what happened. And she let him know that Terry was going out there to talk to him about it. And she wasn't sure how it might turn out. And she wondered if he would come out there just so that if anything did happen, that it would be a smooth transition. You could get him out of here. And if nothing happened, then no problem. But she just wanted to be safe. She wanted to be safe about this thing. So the sheriff said he would send somebody out there. So while in the meantime, between time, Terry's at the bunkhouse and he's talking to Rob. And as soon as he walks in, Rob said, "You kicking me out?" And Terry looks at him and said, "Why would you say that? Why would you say I'm going to kick you out?" He said, something happened last night that I think you need to know about. And you're not going to like it. But you need to hear it. So he said, "Well, what do you got to tell me?" Now, Terry is expecting Rob to own up to what Stephanie said. But that's not how Rob gets down. Rob told him, he said, "Man, when you got in the car last night, you fell out. And when you fell out, Stephanie asked me if I wanted to have some fun. And I asked her, I said, what do you mean have some fun?" She said, "Well, you know, Terry's in the back sleep. He'll never know." And then Rob went on to talk. He said that she pulled her skirt up so that I could see her underwear. And Terry's looking at him. He said, "Did she now?" And Rob said, "Yeah, man, I swear to you, that's what happened. But I told her, no, you were my brother, and I wouldn't do that to you." And she got pissed about it. And she smacked me. So Terry's looking at him. He doesn't believe him for a minute. But it's starting to dawn on him who Rob really is. This man is a liar, a manipulator, a user, a deceiver. Somebody that's about that life. Remember that? Like I done told y'all. I done told you before. If you say you're about that life, remember what that means. Remember what that means. In that lifestyle, that's part of the lifestyle. So if you say you're about that life, that's what you're about. Lying, deceiving, manipulating, using people. Remember that. So Terry tells Rob, he said, "Man, I think you should leave." He said, "After I told you the truth, you still gonna put me out?" He said, "Man, look, you gotta leave today." So Rob stands up and he walks up on Terry. And he tells Terry, he said, "I'm not leaving until the 2 weeks are up." He said, "That's just what it is." And he pushed Terry. And when he pushed Terry, Terry stumbled back and he hit the door of the cabin. And when he hit the door of the cabin, he pushed himself back off the door and he rushed toward Rob. And they locked up. Now they're fighting. They're going at it. And you can hear the hustle and bustle, right? When somebody's fighting, you could hear it. And some of the farm hands, they ran over there. And right about that time, that's when the sheriff pulls up. The sheriff pulls up. The sheriff deputy actually pulls up. So everybody's running toward the cabinet. Stephanie sees it and she's running over and everybody's running over like, what's going on? And you could hear them in there fighting. So the sheriff, he kicks in the door and goes in there. He said, what's going on in here with his gun drawn? And he tells them, stop. So they stopped. And while they're standing there, Terry's telling them, get your stuff and get out. And Rob tells the sheriff, said, Sheriff, I want to charge him with assault. This man assaulted me because his wife tried to sleep with me. So the sheriff looks at him, the deputy sheriff looks at him, and he said, come with me. And he takes him out by the car, and he takes a statement from Rob to the point of what he just said. He writes everything down. And when he writes everything down, he goes and he talks to Stephanie. And he tells Stephanie, he said, the sheriff sent me out here, and he tells her everything that he was told. And she said, I'm the one that called. I told my husband what happened, and I told my husband he had to go. So the deputy sheriff says, okay, this is what we're going to do. I'm going to call my boss man. Now keep in mind, Terry's parents that have passed away and left this farm to him, the sheriff is real good friends with them. Real good friends with them. Was real good friends with them. So the deputy called the sheriff and told the sheriff what was going on. And the sheriff said, I'm on my way. I'm on my way out there. So he gets out there in about 20 minutes or so, and he tells all of them, he said, this is what we're going to do. He said, I'm going to take you down. I'm going to take your statement downtown, and then you're going to go your way. I'm going to turn this over to the DA, and we're going to see what happens. He said, but if we find the evidence that you're lying, he's talking to Rob now, we're going to charge you with filing a false police report, and I'm going to put you in jail. Or you can leave now and not worry about this, because I know you're lying. I know you're lying, because Miss Stephanie is the one that called originally. He told Rob that. Now Terry is looking at Stephanie, and now he's happy that she did that. But Rob is starting to realize he let a wolf into the hen house. He let a wolf into the hen house. So Rob, he stands there for a few minutes. He said, man, I won't go. Just let me get my stuff and I'm gone. So he goes in, he gathers all his stuff, and he comes back out, and the sheriff said, I'll drop you off at the bus station. And as they were standing there, Terry and Stephanie were standing there while they were driving away. Terry apologized to Stephanie, telling her he had no idea. Now, why is this story important? Why is this story important? See, when you're dealing with people in prison, people that have a hard time finding who they really are, that genuine self, right? When they get uncomfortable, when they get put in situations that cause stress and it triggers them, they resort back to what they know. And when you're in this environment, lying becomes part of what you have to do to deal with this situation in here. Everything in here is messed up. Everything. That's why I say you don't want to come in here. The people in here, they're not bad people. Rob was not bad people. He's just messed up. And when you're messed up, you do messy stuff. He had somebody that was willing to help him do all that he needed to do to build himself up until he got on his feet. But he got so jealous, so envious of what he saw, he didn't want to work for it anymore. He wanted to take it. And when he tried to take it and he wasn't able to accomplish what it was he was trying to do, now he wanted to tear it down. He wanted to tear it down. He tried to destroy that man's marriage. He tried to destroy it the night that he was being in the car. He's tried to destroy it the day that they were talking in the cabin. One way or another, he wanted to hurt them because he was still hurt. Being in prison don't change you from being a criminal or being somebody corrupted in your heart. That ain't got nothing to do with it. Just because they put you in here, that don't mean you change after you finish your sentence. You got to do real work on yourself. You got to do real work on what's going on the inside of you. And if you don't do that, it don't matter if you finish your sentence. You'll get out of here thinking and feeling the same way about life and won't take advantage of all the nice people and the nice things that can happen to you. You will miss your blessing. You will miss your blessing. And that's how it ends. And that's how it ended for Rob. He missed his blessing. And now doesn't have anywhere to go, anywhere to live, but he's talking about he going to Florida. You know how that's going to turn out. This has been another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker, and I say peace, y'all.
I'm getting